This week's broadcast was brought to you by the City of Tracy. Join us this Thursday, July 23rd from 3 to 7 p.m. for the Tracy Area Community Center Open House, a place to gather, to connect, and to grow as a community. Ribbon cutting at 3 p.m. Join us this Thursday, July 23rd at 200 South Street for the Tracy Area Community Center Open House.
Welcome to the 52nd Headlight Hot Seat Podcast. My name is Per. I'm your host today. We are honored to be joined today by Dr. Chad Anderson, our Superintendent of Schools at Tracy Area Public Schools. Thank you for joining us, Chad.
Oh, thanks for having me, Per. The honor is all mine.
We have a lot to cover today, and truthfully, we could talk pretty much all day about everything going on at the school in the past, the present, and the future. But before we do that, let's get into getting to know Chad a little bit.
Sure. I'm originally from northeastern South Dakota. I grew up in a small cattle, sheep ranch and small grain ranch in the northeastern corner of the state. After I graduated, I went to Northern State University and went to school for education. And then from there, I taught school in South Dakota for a while, and I also was a head football coach and basketball coach and track coach. And then from there, went on to Canby, Minnesota as a Dean of Students and Activities Director, and worked there for a few years before I got a call to come over to Tracy for an interview with Dave Marlette, who is just retiring here coming up after the end of the year, one of my mentors. Worked as principal here for a few years, really had a positive experience, loved that, and then had an opportunity to apply for the superintendent job here in Tracy, and I've been doing that for around 14 years. I've been in Tracy I think, going on my 23rd year. I've been in education for around 31 years, and I've just been blessed to work with wonderful people and be in a wonderful town like Tracy. I have a little bit about my family. Is my wife, Darcy, and I have been married for over 26 years. We have 3 children. Our oldest is Kobe, who graduated in 20. He went to Augustana for business and marketing and who is working in Sioux Falls now. And my middle son, Caden, who went to school at Southeast Tech in Sioux Falls, and he's working in HVAC in Sioux Falls now and does a little construction on the side. And I have a daughter, Avery, who is going to be a sophomore this year, who we enjoy following in all of her sports and things. And then we have a dog, Callie, who's rules the roost sometimes at home. So yeah,
A hunting dog, I assume.
well, she is a hunting dog, but she's slowing down. She's getting a little older now, so she spends a lot of time laying on the couch now.
Who doesn't? I was giving Avery a little grief last night at the Park and Rec thing, the parents' night. 'Cause she's at softball, and I said, "Are you giving up track now? Are you going to go to the dark side of softball?" But I think she's pretty much stuck on track for now.
Oh yeah, no, she loves coaching the kids though.
Yeah, she's a great girl. It's been fun watching all your kids grow up and covering them in sports. Like I said before, we have a lot to talk about, so let's get into it. We'll start off with a little bit of the recent past and the big infrastructure project that took place above the ceiling and below the ground, as we like to say at both schools. We don't need to go over everything, Chad, but just let's do a little wrap up of what went on and how that's going to benefit the school.
Sure. You mentioned that right away, how every year we've got several projects going on every summer. When school ends in May, some people think things quiet down, but for me, things always ramp up and get really busy with a lot of things going on throughout the summer. And I could go back even further years ago when we redid the parking lot and the windows and the track and all those things. But the most recent one that you brought up had to do with around a $26 million project to update all of our facilities at both the high school and the elementary school and Tracy Kids World. And like we said, we won't get into details, but just to quickly skim over some of the things we did. We really focused on energy management. We upgraded all of our electrical services in both the buildings. We abated all the asbestos around our pipes. We put in new ceiling grid and tiles. We did fire suppression sprinkler systems at both buildings, a new boiler, water distribution systems, chillers at both buildings, chilled water replacement, air handlers everywhere, DX units on the roofs, full management, full energy control systems. And that's all the domestic hot and cold water, and like you said, under the ground, we replaced all of the sewer piping and things like that. So, in a nutshell, the infrastructure at all of our schools is brand new. It's like completely new buildings inside and out and behind the scenes. They're not the things that aren't too exciting, but you can't see them, but it's in great shape. And I guess one thing I did forget to mention too was at Kids World, we also went around and put a new siding all the way around that, some beautiful siding. So that really, that had to be done, and it looks really nice as well.
That's one thing we can see. We don't see the HVAC. We don't see the coolers and the chillers and whatnot, but at least we can see the exterior of Kids World, which looks pretty good. And of course, with all the stuff going on, this was a 2-year project.
Right.
I mean, that's this is why it took so long.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's we talked a lot about that when we started. You know, how are we going to do all this? When I talked to the engineers and the contractors and the architects, I said, how in the world are we going to get this even done in 2 years? And you know, so we decided to break it into two projects. The things that we were going to do the first year below the ground, ripping up the terrazzo floors and the cement and digging out gravel and going into the ground and pulling up all the old cast iron pipes. The first summer, which was, you know, it's like exploratory surgery. You just don't know what you're going to get into until you start digging into the ground. And, you know, there was hurdles that we had to go through there, but it was great and turned out wonderful. And then the next summer, we really focused on the roof above the ceiling. And I remember going through that, and it was in July, and I was looking around going, how in the world are we going to get this done before the first day of school? But it all came together. Had a great group of people working together on it, and everything finished up before we started school.
It was such a massive project. I remember going there during, you know, for school board meetings or visiting you for an interview, and I thought the same thing when I saw this. It turned into a construction zone. I said, they got school in 3 months or 2 months.
Right.
What's it going to look like in September? But you made it work. Everyone, like you said, it takes a team, a huge team to make it work. Let's move more to the present now. We have a big project going on this summer at the high school and the elementary school as well, I believe. The door project? Or is it just the high school?
More at just the high school this summer, and then next summer we're going to focus at the elementary more because they had different needs than the high school did. But yeah, it's at the high school this summer. You know, it's I don't know. Most people probably don't get too excited about a door project, but I'm pretty pumped up about it. It's really fun actually. We wrote a grant a year and a half ago, and the grant was for $500,000 to replace all of our doors. And you know, why would that cost so much? But there's a lot of things that go into it. For example, the doors at the high school all were asbestos filled, so it was time for them to come out. Anytime there's a chip or a crack or anything that exposes the asbestos, it needs to be abated.
Because these were original doors, right?
Yeah, exactly.
68?
Yep, it was the original, those big old heavy doors that were in there, and you could, you know, when you go through a building with kids and community and things for 60 years, they get beat up. So they were showing their age, but that wasn't actually the main reason. But we did abate them and got rid of those. One of the main reasons we wanted to replace those doors is because you know, safety reasons. And for one is that teachers in their classrooms would have to, when we had different drills or lockdown drills, they would have to leave the classroom, use their key on the outside of the lock to lock the door, then pull it closed. And that obviously wasn't the safest thing for us to do. So with our new ADA compliant hardware, you can lock it on the inside and just pull it closed. And the neat part is, you know, if teachers have two doors, they have two different systems. One is just a push close door where they push the button, close it. And on the door, it actually says the word locked in red, or it'll say unlocked in white on the inside. So they can tell just by looking at it. And then the other door in their room will actually have a key fob system. So to go in their rooms, they can just swipe the fob, and those are always locked. It'll unlock when they open it, but as soon as they swipe it, it locks again. So all of their doors can be locked in a matter of a second compared to the time it would take to go to both doors, lock them from the outside, and replace them. So yeah, that's a big part of safety.
So they had to physically go out in the hallway, or at least bend their arm. I'm trying to motion this. You can't see it when you're listening to this, but they had to go and unlock it with a key, pull their key out, then close it behind them as they re-enter the room.
That's correct. Yeah. So it was just a system.
Antiquated there.
Yeah. You know, when they put things together 60 years ago, it made sense, but in this day and age, it just wasn't the safest way to do things. So yeah, with that upgrade and the fob system, we're going to have just like we do on the exterior doors that are always locked at all the times at both buildings. You need teachers or staff can use a fob to get in. And that's the way it's going to be in the classrooms now as well, and inside the building, or say the gym. And kind of another neat thing about this is, let's say that we loan out a key for a coach or someone, for Miss Tracy to get into the high school gym. We won't use keys anymore. We'll loan out a fob, and when we're done, we just simply disarm that fob, or if they don't return it, we disarm it, and it's done. So you don't have keys floating around anymore.
Is this every door in the building?
Not every door, but
I'm thinking about the gym doors.
Yeah.
Are those being replaced?
Yes, the gym doors. Yes, those gym doors are really beat up too. Oh yeah. No, every door that you see when you're walking through the high school will be brand new. Okay. And again, just going back to that grant, we had a $500,000 grant that's paying for it, and we also, the school had to match a certain percentage, and our percentage was $172,000. So this project, between all of the doors and the fobs and the keys and the hardware, is around a $673,000 project just at the high school. And then next summer we're going to work on door hardware, because the doors at the elementary are much newer, but the hardware we want to make very similar to the high school with the locking systems and fobs.
So the high school's piece of that, is that from LTFM dollars? The the long-term financial maintenance dollars?
Yeah,
Is
so some of the stuff that we can use for the hardware and things like that does come from our LTFM dollars or our long-term facility maintenance, and we receive $280,000 per year for those purposes, which doesn't go as far as it used to
It
anymore.
sounds like a lot of money.
It
but
does, right?
It goes pretty quick.
Right.
Let's talk about branding. We talk about things we can't see with the infrastructure project, and this is stuff that we can see, and that's on purpose because you walk into the high school now, you know where you're at. There's a huge panther head to your left. There's a panther head as over the front part. What do you call that? The awning.
The vestibule coming in,
yeah.
yep.
There's a panther head there in Tracy Area High School. You walk into the foyer there. There's a big panther head. You walk over. You look to your left in the foyer. There's a sweet black, literally a piece of art that was installed, that was brought into the school recently. And then you walk in, you go to your left to go to the gym, there's another panther head. I mean, this is all about the Panthers, isn't it? How important is this branding? Because in the past, and I'll just say when I went to school there, we didn't have that stuff.
Right. It's the words that I think of when we started working together on this branding was belonging, pride, purpose. When you come to Tracy Area Public Schools, I want every single child to know that you belong, that this is your school. Like I always tell kids, you can change a lot of things in your life, but after you graduate from Tracy Area High School, home of the Tracy Milroy Ballatin Panthers, you'll always be a Panther. And that's why I tell people, once a Panther, always a Panther. Because once you graduate, you can't change that, and that's part of you. But what our kids, when they come to school, I want them, when they come up, they have pride in our building. It looks nice, you know? You want to have a place that they go to that they're proud of, that when their relatives or family or grandparents or friends show up and say, this is my school. And the branding really went along with that philosophy. We wanted to make sure that when you walk into the school, you knew that you're at TMB, Tracy Area Public Schools, and that I feel the branding process really shows kids that it doesn't matter if you're an FFA or in the play or in sports or you're strong academically or whatever your situation is in the school, you belong and you're a Panther and you're part of a bigger family, than just, we have reunions, family reunions. We'll get together and have T-shirts and things like that to show pride in our family. Why should the school be different? They spend so much of their time there every day with their teachers and friends and other staff that, it's important to let all of the kids and staff and community know we're in like a family in this together, and we want to have that purpose, and we're very mindful of that.
You talk about pride, and I know as a former teenager myself, when we're hosting a basketball game or a volleyball match, you got kids from other schools coming in. And I know when I played in sports in high school, we would check our surroundings out, and we would see how old this gym looks, or this gym is old. I don't like playing here. It's dark. So I think the kids really appreciate that too when their opponents are coming in, because these guys they know each other. They play ball against each other in the summer. They're friends, most of them, a lot of them. So there's a sense of pride too. I think when the kids come in from other schools, we go to RTR and they have a brand new school, and I'm sure the kids realize that this is a really nice school. But like you said, we're an old school, but we're not anymore, really, are we?
Right. And going into other schools, that's, it's something when, in my position, when you're redoing a bathroom, for instance, we've redone all the bathrooms as well with beautiful tile and floorings and things like that. And so it sounds silly, but when I go to other schools, I check out their bathrooms. Like, well, okay, how did they do this? What type of tile did they use? Or when I walk in their vestibules, I'm going, okay, this really looks nice, or this is not that inviting, or where do I even go to get into the school?
Right.
So those are things that I really check out when I go to all the schools, even more so than I ever have. But you're absolutely right. When you go into a school that may have not put as much time and energy into their facilities, it shows, and it's just a different feel when you walk in there compared to a school that they've put a time and energy. And a lot of things that go along with that too is upkeep. And I'm so proud of our custodial staff. They bust their tails every day. I mean, they're just going, making sure the floors are burnished and the walls are clean and everything's picked up. And, and that's something as a piece of it too, and I hope it's this way because of this, but our floors never have garbage on them during the school day at either school. And I'm wondering if people are saying it's a really nice place. It's got a lot of beautiful branding, and I see a lot of people when they're walking down the halls, if there's a piece of paper, they just stop, pick it up, and throw it away. And that's my expectation. If no matter who you are, if you're a teacher, a coach, a student, a principal, a superintendent, if you're walking down the hall and you see a piece of paper on the floor, you're going to bend over, pick it up, and throw it away. And our custodians keep it clean, and it takes all of us to make sure that we do that part as well.
I think the career of a custodian might be the most underappreciated in the history of careers. I mean, we just don't think about them. Maybe we do when we see something that looks a little shady, there's garbage or whatever.
Right.
Then we think, oh, why aren't the custodians picking this up? The fact that we don't think about them in Tracy, I think, speaks to how clean the school always is.
Yep.
Spotless.
And we don't understand the pride they take in it.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like we all have jobs that we do every day, and we're all prideful of the things that we do. But I visit with all of our custodians each and every day, and they take a lot of pride in that school. If there's something there, they'll notice it, and they'll let me know. If something isn't picked up or a room isn't right, they let me know. We visit about things, and it gets better. So they take a large amount of pride in what they do every day.
All right, let's talk consolidation. You mentioned at the school board meeting last week that this was an 18-month process. I don't know, you put this into context, that's either a really long time or how did you get this done in that short a time? I don't know, it depends on your perspective, but what was that like? I mean, it's such a, ordeal really isn't the right word, but I guess process, we'll stick with that, to consolidate one school with another. It's a pretty big undertaking, isn't it?
Yeah, you know, backing up just a little bit, when I was principal here, we consolidated with Ballatin, you know, in around 2009. Wonderful for both schools and communities. It's worked out terrific. But yeah, it's 18 months, you know, from the moment that Superintendent Willie gave me a call and just said, "Hey, Chad, we're just wondering, you know, we have some things going on as far as enrollment and facilities and staffing, and we're starting to have the conversations with the school board. Is this something that the Tracy Area Public School Board would be interested in discussing with us?" And without hesitation, I said yes.
Yeah.
To me, it's a lot of people, you know, if you ask them, they probably thought we were consolidated already, quite honestly,
Oh, sure.
because we've shared in so many different sports and things like that. You know, our name is Tracy Milroy Ballatin in our activities. And so a lot of people probably assumed it was already consolidated, but I looked at that as these Milroy kids were already our kids anyhow in a way, because they were coming over here and we took care of them like they were our own, whether they came in first grade or seventh grade or whenever they came over, whether they were here for sports in elementary or junior high or high school. So, but anyhow, yeah, it's something, no hesitation. We knew this was a great fit for both communities. And when he said they were going to talk to other schools and communities about it as well, I said, of course, make sure you reach out to other communities or schools and see what their thoughts are. And at that time, the other schools they reached out to did not have an interest in consolidation. And so they said their goal was always to look at Tracy first and foremost anyhow. But of course, they need to do their due diligence, which they did.
Well, it just
And-
makes sense.
Yeah,
And,
of course.
You know,
Yeah.
we've had Milroy kids coming over since 86, 87, when, you know, after their high school closed or whatever you want to say. And that's when we became Tracy Milroy, eventually Tracy Milroy Ballatin. But I don't know of any other school that would make more sense, whether it's Wabasso or Marshall, to consolidate with in Tracy.
Right. It was a good fit. And from day one, when we started visiting with the superintendent, and then when I started visiting with our school board, and then we started to have monthly meetings with the Milroy School Board. That's been going on for a year and a half. Every month, we would sit down with members of a committee and members of the Tracy School Board Committee and meet on a Wednesday following the board meeting and just discuss progress and all of the legalities that needed to take place. And like you say, it's a situation where, boy, that happened fast, or it took a long time. But if you look back from the very beginning, as you look at the entire book of things that need to be accomplished before two schools may consolidate, it's massive. The things that need to be done behind the scenes, and it's important that you cover each step. And you know, it worked out really well for first and foremost for all the kids. You know, making sure that they feel welcome, for the staff that's coming over, and for our staff, knowing what's going on and the kids and everybody coming over and how that works. It's been a long but very, for me personally, rewarding process to be able to bring our districts together.
And earlier this week, we had our first joint school board meeting with 3 members from Milroy coming over. It was a little bit different. I've covered a lot of school board meetings, and we held it in the cafeteria, which is a good idea. But a lot of people there. It's just, it seems like, you know, when Rod is doing the roll call, and it takes a little longer now, doesn't it? How did that meeting go for you?
You know, it was, like I said, for me, it's been such a rewarding experience, and I was really excited about the whole process and bringing everybody together from the beginning when we started having meetings monthly, inviting school board members. And even at our other meetings, I invited the Milroy board members to come to some of the Tracy meetings and things like that. We had orientation already, backing up a little bit. We invited Adam Schneider and Scott Bauman and Ashley Christensen over, and Rod and I sat down with them for a day and just went through, you know, how things roll here at Tracy, and gave tours and talked to all the teachers. We wanted to make sure they all felt welcome and invited and valued, which they are. And so that first meeting, we invited MSBA to come over and kind of do some leadership strategy training with us as well after the meeting. And they said, you know, we've we've accomplished probably phase one already, even before the first meeting. So we were ahead of everything at that point. So when we came in, it felt pretty natural to me. But you're right, with having, instead of 7, 10, it's only 3 more, but it feels the room is bigger. You have more personalities, more ideas, which is wonderful, and bringing everybody together with voting and making decisions. You know how it goes. If you're sitting around the kitchen table at home with your family and there's 3 of you, making a decision is a little bit easier than if you have 10 members of your family sitting around the table. So again, it's better because there's a lot more input, but it can also be, it's just going to take a little more time for us to get settled in and make sure we all understand each other and as we move forward with the decision-making process, which, with the training we did last night is we talked a lot about different types of personalities and different types of leadership strategies and learned about each other a lot more. And so I think that will help when it comes time to voting on issues and making decisions. They're all going to have a little bit understanding why board member A is taught or has this perspective and why board member B is explaining it like this, just to understand each other better.
Now the election will change the look of the board a little bit, right?
Yeah, well, there's a transition plan that's required that we put in place for the consolidation, and we have an election coming up in November, and at that time, we have 5 board members up for re-election, and there'll be four spots that will be filled. Okay. So what that means is we'll go from a 10-member board down to a 9-member board as of January 1, 2027. And then 2 years later, we'll go to 8, and then 2 years after that, we'll be back down to 7, but it's a transition process that was put in place by the state of Minnesota and agreed upon by both districts.
Let's go into the future now. We covered the past and the present. The future, as you put in the agenda every month, there's a $4.5+ million that the school has to use after the infrastructure project. I'm really putting this in elementary terms, but you know what I'm talking about. Now, we have to preface this by saying there has been no decisions made. This is very preliminary. But I think when you showed at the school board meeting the possibilities, the blueprints, I think that really puts into perspective what we can do. And I know with 4.5 million, like you said, it sounds like a lot of money. Won't go the whole way. But let's talk about this a little bit. And like I said, we don't know what's going to happen yet.
Correct.
But there have been some pretty impressive ideas floated around.
Yeah, the 4.5 million that we've talked about in the past, and I've had it on every single board meeting since that number came about to make sure that we're completely transparent. I just put it on the agenda every single time.
It's just there.
It's just there. I just remind people it's here, and just to make sure it's transparent. And to remind people why it's there is because when we did the project, it was basically 3 pieces of the puzzle. One is the bids came in a little bit lower than we were expecting because it was during that COVID right after that time, and bids were just all over the place. And so we were fortunate enough to hit it on a good spot where the bids came in a little bit under where we felt they would be. The biggest point to this, it was a 2-year project, and we bought the bonds high, and so over 2 years, the bonds were able to gain that interest, and so it gained over half that amount in interest over that time frame while we were building. And then the last piece of the puzzle is when we went through all of the infrastructure, the board and I met on a weekly basis with the construction teams and made sure we held tight to our budget and didn't dip into those contingency funds. So that's the main reason why we have the money. Now, what do we do with that money? And everybody's wondering, well, that's a lot of money. And like you said, it is. But when it comes to school buildings, it doesn't go as far as it used to. When you talk about the original schools, it probably cost a little over $2 million to build everything. Okay. Yeah. Now, if I would put up a vestibule, it'll cost that. It's a different world. But preliminary stages, no decisions have been made, and that's purposeful. We wanted to wait till the Milroy board joined us, so they have input and involvement, and so they could help make decisions as well, and so we could have the entire communities of Valentin, Tracy, Garvin, Curry, Amoret, Lake Sarah, Bloody, Chautauqua, everybody gets their voice heard on this. And so, but to start things, what are the needs we have? I've been asked, and some of the things that we've brought up is dealing with the elementary school, the gym. We have one gym and no cafeteria, or some people may call it the gym cafetorium or whatever. And this is why. It's because In the morning, our custodians put down tables for our kids to eat breakfast because we feed everybody a free breakfast every morning. Gym is full of kids eating breakfast, hanging out. Then after they leave, our custodial, which is Thad, puts all the tables away and cleans them all off, cleans the
Turns
floor.
it into a gym.
And turns it into a gym, okay? So then we got a gym for a couple hours. And then he has to get ready for dinner. So he pulls all the tables back out, sets them all up, puts the curtain down.
Back to a cafeteria.
And then the half of the gym has, Mr. Haberman has a little bit of space for his little kids to run around. It's not much, but that's a process. And so our kids really don't have a full gym all day long, and we don't have a full cafeteria all day long, and so it's a mixture of things. And so that's something we need to think about. Yeah. Do we build another cafeteria? Do we build a gym? Something so we don't have to continually up and down, clean, move back and
like
forth.
That forever.
It has.
I went there, and I remember when it was we would be eating in the same room. We would be square dancing in. Or Gail Otto taught square dancing.
Oh, really? Okay, I'll have to ask Gail to see if he can show me some moves.
Well, yeah, that was not a happy memory for me. They had to hold the girls' hands and everything.
Oh, man.
I digress. But yeah, it's been like that forever, and I think a lot of people would agree that, yeah, we need some other space for these kids.
Yeah, so that's just one of the big conversations, and we've been having those conversations for years. Just how do we do it with making sure we're good financial stewards of the district and making sure we're placing money where we need to. So it's been a good conversation. The other piece to the elementary school is that obviously when you come to the high school now, it looks much different. We have that brand new vestibule, and again, that came from grant money at the high school where we wrote a grant to get $500,000 to put that nice new vestibule with the front entrance, the big panther head in the middle of it, where people have to buzz in to get in there. They wait for our secretary, Kim, to buzz them in to get into the school. We give them a pass, and then people come to them or they're escorted where they need to go. So it was a big improvement. And so we're looking at something like that as a possibility at the elementary as well, because right now they have to buzz to get in, but we don't have direct eyes on people coming up to the parking lot like we do at the high school. We have cameras, but it's not as welcoming and it is not the same. So that's another option we've talked about, is doing some type of secure entrance at the elementary.
Yeah, it'd be nice to see a face right when you walk in, because when you walk in now, you just see a hallway. And where the classrooms are, where the media center is, but it is nice to have that friendly face, so to speak, greeting you when you walk into any building, really.
Exactly. When you come, all right, I know I've arrived at the place I'm supposed to be, at the front entrance, and you have someone smiley there welcoming you, and we got a lot of wonderful people at the elementary that are very welcoming, and so yeah, that would be great. So we also had some drawings at the high school of some auxiliary or practice gyms at the high school, and right now we have availability. Our kids can go to Milroy, or they can go to Ballatin to practice, or the VMC or St. Mary's. However, for parents, it's nice to have one central location where they can bring their kids to, and they know where they'll be. And so for example, if you live over out north of Milroy and your child is going to be practicing in Ballatin after school, that's a trek to get way over there, back and forth, and vice versa. If you live south and west of Ballatin and you're going to drive up to Milroy for a junior high game or practice, it's a long ways. And they've been wonderful facilities, and we'll continue to use them when we need them. However, I think it's good to think about a possibility of having something where everybody can drive to a central location where we can have practices, where we can have junior high games, things like that at Tracy Area High School with auxiliary gyms. You've been to a lot of schools, like you say, when you go into different schools and you see what they have. There's a lot of schools that have those gyms with the curtains in the middle where you've got elementary on one gym, the junior high on another gym, and the JV or whatever, and we have so many different teams and so many things going on compared to what it used to be that they need more space. We could open this up. There's other things we've talked about with that, is potentially incorporating an elevated walking track above it as well. So our community members could come in and have a fob pass, and we would have a safety system where they could come in and go walk in the wintertime as well. And so that's something we've talked about. We've also talked about our current courtyard is it's a beautiful space, but it's really not used for a lot of things other than natural lighting that comes into the cafeteria. If we were to have some type of large vestibule in the middle where that is, where people could come in, walk into, and use that as an area to socialize or relax or wait while they're at ball games or where they're waiting for their kids, that could be a nice area for that. So for example, let's say we wanted to bring in a youth wrestling tournament and have 6 mats on the floor with bleachers so parents could watch all that, and a walking track above where they could look down and watch their kids wrestle, or have a big area where they could socialize and hang out and eat concessions instead of just sitting in bleachers and things, I think would be a big advantage for parents as well. So, these are just some things we're thinking about, with the community and with our school, ways that we could bring us all together more in one spot. Because, with the consolidation, when I first came to Tracy, it was just Tracy. And now with adding on, miles to go over on the other side of Gallatin and miles to go north and east of Milroy, by bringing everybody back to a central location, it would make it easier for everybody, no matter where they live, instead of wondering, is my child at Milroy tonight, or are they at St. Mary's, or the VMC?
For parents, especially in the winter, do I have to drive the road 14?
Right.
And this is by no means a knock against the VMC. That's been a godsend.
Oh, of course.
When you talk about all the mats for wrestling, we've had how many wrestling tournaments there? Pretty much every sport either plays games or practices in that place.
They do.
But I will say, the parking isn't really great there when you bring in hundreds and hundreds of people into town. It would be nice to have that place out at the high school where you have plenty of parking.
Right, and that's some of the things we've talked about. Again, I want to reiterate what you said about the VMC. It's a godsend. We're so lucky and blessed to have it. It has a wonderful history and tradition, and we will still continue to need it and use it. However, if we had this area at the high school with these auxiliary gyms, we would be able to have some advantages, such as, like you said, the parking. Instead of parking around town, we could have the parking right there for everyone. We could have the space for parents to sit down or mill around or relax outside of the gym if they're all day for a elementary basketball tournament or whatever. And they do take all day. I've been there many. I've spent many days and hours there. So a place for that. All of our bathrooms and locker rooms and showers and everything are readily available for them. And like we said, our infrastructure is brand new. So that would provide a lot of opportunities for a space for our kids, space for our parents, for our community to use, because it is the hub of the community. And we want to make sure that we're mindful of that when we're doing any updates or additions, that not just the students, but the community and the parents and everybody are considered. And we are going to get input from everyone as well. We'll be, we've got a list of around 150 names from Milroy, Tracy, Gallatin, Garvin, Curry, everywhere, and we're going to get input from everybody before we do any decisions.
Yeah, that's a good idea, and something that I think you have to do. You don't want to leave anyone out. I think everyone deserves to have a voice in this, for sure. Let's do a little trivia now, Chad, to wrap things up.
I'm not very good at trivia up here.
Well, this is a hot, contentious issue because some people love trivia, some people loathe trivia. But we've been doing this for a couple months now, and I've tried to make the questions a little bit easier, so as not to put you on the spot too much. I have two categories. I have a random category and history. I chose history because of my guest today, Dr. Anderson. He should know a little bit about history, but that doesn't mean you have to pick history. So we got a potpourri and we got a history. What'll it be, Chad?
Oh, decisions. I'm going to go with history. I'm going to take your recommendation, see what we got.
I'm glad you did. All right, question number one. Now I'm going to break these down by the eras. So we'll start with pre-1700s.
Okay, all right.
We're going way back. Question number one. Which crop became the economic foundation of the Virginia colony?
I'm thinking of two different crops here. I'm thinking of tobacco and cotton. I am going to go with cotton.
Oh, Chad.
No, should have I picked tobacco? Oh.
A half point is, I think, appropriate. You did have it on the tip of your tongue. All right, we'll move into the 1700s. What was the first battle of the American Revolution in 1775?
The American Revolution. Okay, I got to get my 1775. Lexington and Concord.
Nailed it.
Oh, man, that's good.
Nailed it. Okay, let's move to the 1800s. Who was the first president to be impeached in 1868?
1868.
How do you know
Okay.
your president?
Yeah, well, I got to back up a little bit. Okay, so we're
just a little.
Yep. So we're just past the Civil War here. We got 1860. We've had Abraham Lincoln followed up with impeached.
I don't know if our listeners can hear the wheels turning
Yeah,
in his head right now.
I'm going to say Garfield.
It is Andrew Johnson,
Oh, shoot. Okay.
but a fine guess. Let's move to the 1900s. When did American women gain the right to vote?
I'm going to say 1926.
1902.
Oh, shoot. Okay.
Yeah, that surprised me too. That was that early in the century, but you're still doing okay.
Okay.
You got to finish strong though.
All right.
In the 2000s, what severe worldwide economic crisis followed the U.S. housing collapse in 2007 and 2008?
Could you repeat that question?
I will. What severe worldwide economic crisis followed the U.S. housing collapse in 07 and 08?
A housing collapse in 07, 08, crisis, worldwide.
And you'll kick yourself if you don't.
Yeah, like I said, I'm on the spot here. I'm sweating. You can't see me, but I have sweat bullets coming down right now.
That's because you take this seriously.
I know. I don't want to let you down.
Well, and if any students hear about this, they'll be in grief this
Yeah.
fall.
Okay. I'm just trying to think. I was here in Tracy in 07, 08. Maybe I'm just trying not to remember the bad
think-
things, the crises, and things like that.
I think what's happening, Chad, is you're overanalyzing this.
Okay.
Because it's so simple.
Okay. In 07, 08. Boy, I'm totally drawing a blank on this one, Pear. I'm sorry.
You're gonna kick yourself.
Okay.
It was the Great Recession.
Oh. Yeah, of course.
I
Yeah.
should have given you a hint.
Yep.
I sometimes give hints, but I didn't this time. Chad, you are off the hot seat. Thanks for joining us today.
All right. Thanks for having me.
This week's broadcast was brought to you by the City of Tracy. Join us this Thursday, July 23rd from 3 to 7 p.m. for the Tracy Area Community Center Open House, a place to gather, to connect, and to grow as a community. Ribbon cutting at 3 p.m. Join us this Thursday, July 23rd at 200 South Street for the Tracy Area Community Center Open House.